On January 15, 2001, Jim Wales and Larry Sanger launched a website that still has a significant impact in our lives today. And the name of this website is, yes, someone else? Wikipedia, yes, congratulations, you know your classics. Yes, Wales and Sanger believe that the people collectively already possess the knowledge and the information necessary to create a new encyclopedia. They just need people a common platform where the information could be collected and shared. And with time, Wikipedia had grown, and today it contains more than 44 million articles in 299 languages. And the philosophy behind Wikipedia is completely different from traditional encyclopedia, like Encyclopedia Britannica, for example, that publish articles carefully and deliberately written by experts in their field. The open source principle of Wikipedia led many to doubt and criticize its accuracy. If anyone could create an article, and if any article can be edited by readers, how can the information be trusted? Many claim. Well, in 2005, the famous magazine Nature published a peer review comparing 42 science articles from both Encyclopedia Britannica and Wikipedia. And the conclusion was that the average science entry in Wikipedia contained around 4 inaccuracy, Britannica 3. In 2012, experts were asked to compare the quality of articles related on selected mental health topics on Wikipedia and corresponded to Britannica and a psychiatry textbook. They were asked to rate the article content regard to accuracy, up-to-dateness, breadth of coverage, referencing, and readability. And the author conclude that Wikipedia is as good or as better than Britannica in the standard textbook. However, despite all the numerous studies, many still refuse to believe that individuals without expertise, competence, or credential on topics on which they contribute can write a trustworthy text. In 2007, Michael Gorman, the former president of the American Library Association, stated that the professor who encouraged to use Wikipedia is the intellectual equivalent of a dietitian who recommends a steady diet of Big Macs with everything. Even if, for several different reasons, many of us are always suspicious, if not completely dismissive, when a new way of doing things is presented, even when we have study in front of us, giving us proof that it could work. And large institutions are particularly rigid when it comes to this kind of change. I have a friend who worked for the government of Quebec, and if I'm not mistaken, our computer is still running on Windows 7. I'm using a Mac, but I know Windows 7 is old, okay? She would be more efficient and predictive if she had a better engine, a better tool at her disposal, but no, this is the system people know, and don't you dare upgrading anything with the proper authorization of someone who might know nothing about computers. The same could be said with other institutions, like university, hospital, churches. When new concepts are presented, the answer is often, what you're presenting is interested, but it will never work. We always have done it this way. Why change something that have worked for us for the last 20 years? If it's not broken, don't fix it, don't even touch it. And as we read our Bible, we learn that the Israelite has made several covenants with God during their history. And during this period of land, we have read about some of them, like Noah after the flood, and Moses and the Ten Commandments. There's also in the Bible stories about the relationship between God and Abraham and his descendants. And essentially in all those covenants, the essential principle is that if the people follow specific rules and procedure, perform the right sacrifice, and say the appropriate prayers, God will provide, and good things will happen to them. And for a while, everything seems to work very well for the Israelites. They place all their hope and everything in God. And in return, they were allowed to enter into the promised land and create a kingdom that reached its peak during the reign of King David and Solomon. And then the Babylonians arrived. They sacked Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, and sent the leader into exile. Everything they worked for and has meaning for them was gone. And many felt that all those words, rules, sacrifice, were for nothing. There was no reason, logic, or whatsoever for hope. To paraphrase the famous expression, if you cannot beat them, maybe you just join those who have a God who seems to be able to deliver to the people. And in the midst of this profound crisis, a prophet stood up among his people. And despite all the signs indicating the opposite, he claims that the days are surely coming. Not might come, not could come. No. The days are surely coming when God will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and Judah. A new covenant. Probably say the people. We already have a few good ones. That led us in this situation of exile, but still, we don't need a new one. And probably after some reflection, a task group and several motions, the Israelite came back to Jeremiah. Okay, what this new covenant all about? What should we learn? What are the rules? What are the exclusions? And prophet said, no, you don't get it. This is not a covenant that will be written in stone tablets like for our ancestors. No. It will be written in our hearts. This covenant will be so profoundly ingrained in us that it will be no need anymore to teach it from one generation to another. This new covenant will be directly accessible in our soul, in our mind, in our conscience. It will not even be required to be, we will not even be required to be told what to do in every situation, because we will already know deep down how to behave, what to do. All our action will follow God's way. Nobody really knows how the religious leaders and elite reacted to Jeremiah's proclamation. The Bible does not say so. But I have my own little idea. Back then, as it's still the case today, nobody wants to lose one's jobs or position, especially when it comes with some forms of power or authority. Religious institutions haven't changed much across millennia. No. Still today, our traditional and accepted model is based on setting aside some individuals, carefully selected, to ask them to study sacred texts, commentaries, liturgical practice, to become expert on interpretation of faith and religion, to receive special title, accreditation, investment. And in this system, lay people are expected to gather around their leader and to be told the accurate and proper beliefs, words, prayers, practices. In this model, there's little room for debate or reflection. And when confronted with difficult issues, heartbreaking dilemmas, head-splitting questions, religious leaders often have nothing more to say than take these 2 tablets and everything will be fine. This new covenant proclaimed by Jeremiah seems too good to be true because it directly challenges what we have been taught and who are in position of authority. For most of us, it's difficult to envision how it could work for even a few minutes. We're convinced that people cannot just show up to our church and begin to do whatever they want. Since we know what a church should do and how it looks like, well, we have created a series of rules and developed a culture. And we expect that they will learn and comply with them. We like to believe that we're the gatekeepers, the guides. Otherwise, who will decide what is right, what is wrong? Who will interpret accurately God's will? This is why Jeremiah's word can completely upset our sense of entitlement, power, even assumption about God. You see, in the wilderness, the Israelites had built the Ark of the Covenant to contain the stone tablet Moses received. And the Ark was carried everywhere, especially even on battleground, because they believe, they were convinced that God was essentially present in this object, in this box. And when we think about this, we might smile about this today. And yet our churches and our congregation across North America are still organized under the model of a God mostly accessible in one place, at one specified time on the week, Sunday morning between 10 and 11 a.m., and through the words of one individual at the front. I would like to assume that everybody here know from experience that God cannot be confined to one single place, to one single time. God is not bound by our concept of time. God can speak through the most unlikely spokesperson. I hope that we know that God is not a white man in a beard located somewhere between Mars and Jupiter and playing puppeteers with human beings. We know that we don't need a special broker to establish a faithful relationship with God, like a USB cable to connect two devices. I hope we know that we have a direct Wi-Fi connection with God accessible everywhere we go. On Thursday night, in the middle of a mall, when we are all by ourselves, God is present, accessible, revealing God's self to us. This new covenant that Jeremiah speaks about transforms the relationship we can have with God. It's a complete shift, it's a complete change of paradigm. We are told that God trusts human beings, alone and collectively. It does not mean that anything goes. It simply signifies that this covenant is not imposed or forced on us. It's not something boring or unappealing that we ought to do for God. This covenant is a choice, driven by our desire to be in a relationship with a God present in the midst of us. It's a response to a God who says to each of us, I will be your God. if you want to be my people. Yes, there will be moments of misunderstanding and confusion, and also times when boundaries and patience will be tested. But I believe together we can find the solutions we need. I believe in you, the community you will form, the collective wisdom you have. I know it sounds dangerous. I know it might look like reckless to some. But I'm ready to take this chance if you want to try something maybe new, maybe different with me. Like the Israelite in exile, we live in this time of transformation, transition. And sometimes it's so rapid that we're not even sure how to call it. Are we postmodern? Are we post-postmodern? We don't know. But in this time, we can choose to cling to old ways that might have worked for us. Yes. We can cling to our institution in the past. Or we can be open to new ideas, new concepts, maybe even new ways to be the church and relationship with God. It might not be in what we have been taught in our youth. It might be very difficult to imagine today. However, we are invited, I believe, to remember that in all ages, in all time of crisis and transformation, God has always remained in the midst of the people. God has continued to trust us. The days are surely coming when we will be transformed, when we will be revitalized. All the information, all the answer we need are already present inside of us, in our midst. All we need to do is to be open to what we can discover together. Amen.